Hi, everyone. So I am going to talk about the Bluey episode named Pavlova. It's season 3, episode 17, if you haven't seen it yet, and the valuable lessons that it gives us parents of picky eaters. And I feel like there's so much value here and so many great lessons that I just could not help but share and review and talk about this amazing episode. Now, if you haven't seen Bluey yet, it's truly phenomenal show for kids and adults, I would say. It's really awesome. And this is such a great episode because it speaks on so many of the things that we teach in such a fun and effortless way. So I'm going to break the episode down for you, and then I'm going to talk about the lessons that I feel like we can really take away from this episode. Now, if you haven't seen it, what happens is at the beginning, the family is eating edamame beans. And Bingo, she's like the youngest of the two daughters or dogs. She, instead of eating edamame beans, she wants to eat pavlova, which, if you don't know, it's this delicious dessert that has like some fresh fruit on top. It's like a sweet like meringue type of a dessert. And I assume it's fairly popular in Australia, actually, because that's where this show takes place. But nevertheless, this little girl wants pavlova, right? Mom and dad are saying, no, it's not time for dessert. But Bingo's older sister, Bluey, decides to play cafe so that she can kind of sneak her some pavlova in like a sneaky way, right? But dad is one step ahead, who pretends to be the chef at the restaurant. And this chef is a French chef that does not speak English very well, right? So he keeps trying to sort of dissuade Bingo from actually getting to the pavlova, trying to sort of block their attempts at getting that dessert to the little girl. He served the edamame beans when they asked for pavlova. He puts ketchup on it, pretending that he has no idea what they're talking about. So it was very silly, right? And then, when Bluey fires dad, who's the chef, he opens up a pretend cafe next door. And turns out he only serves edamame beans, of course, right? So, um, Bluey now is starting to say some things that really all of a sudden is resonating with me as a feeding therapist. Things that I've heard before. Like, I don't like it when you make me. So she's saying, you can make me some, but I don't like it when you make me eat it, right? Which we always talk about, that kids do not like being forced to eat foods. And, I'd say the dad does not ever actually force Bingo to eat the food. But I like that she vocalized that and she expressed that. Now, they decide to basically have a cafe competition between the Pavlova Cafe and this dad's edamame bean cafe, right? So, what I love to see is that Bingo said, "Can I help?" when the dad started making his edamame beans. And, the dad was saying basically like, through some actions like, well, if you put some yummy stuff on it, it'll taste spectacular, right? So she was like, "Oh, can I help with those?" And she sees him having fun popping the beans out of the pod. And, a little girl shoots the bean into the bowl and she's laughing and she's having fun with dad. And I love that because we are always talking with kids about how can we make food fun? How can we turn it into a game? So she's having positive experiences with those edamame beans, right? And in the end, when the competition's over, she chooses the pavlova, right? We knew she was going to choose the dessert. She wasn't going to choose the edamame bean. But I love how the mom comes in and she actually says, I guess I have to trust I know what he's doing, right? So she's not angry. She's not throwing him under the bus. She's showing, support for whatever he decided to do. And I think that's super important for our kids to see. So I love that she did that. And then the most amazing thing happens because mom just totally accepts that she had the dessert and she's not going to have the edamame bean. And mom just walks away. She's like, let's go Dad and Bluey and finish playing. And just as she walked away, Bingo stops, jumps back up, and tries the edamame bean when no one is looking, just because she wanted to. And of course, she thinks it tasted good, right? But that pressure was so off. There was no pressure, which we always talk about, taking that pressure off. And I absolutely love that just that whole sequence of events. So I'm just going to talk about the lessons learned, right? Dad was number one, Dad made the whole thing very silly, and he was building a positive experience with that food by making it memorable, making it just silly, and just being that silly chef made Bingo laugh. And laughing around this new food, I think, really helped build um, how she felt about it. Number two, I think when she said, I don't like it when you make me, that was so powerful. And kids don't like it when we make them eat food. And we're always reminding parents not to force because it will usually backfire. Actually, it almost always backfires. Even if you win that battle, the war will be lost because you will still be creating that negative experience with food. So it's really important to keep that pressure off, right? And not force. And the dad, no one ever forced in this episode. And she came around to eating it anyway, which is what we want to see. Right. And number three, dad made it fun. They were shooting the beans into the bowl and she was laughing and having a great time, which we always talk about, trying to make food fun. All right. Number four, she helped with cooking. Bingo asked, can I help? She got excited about cooking, right? So we always talk about getting kids involved in meal prep and having those experiences build positive, feelings about that food. All right, next. Number five, mom didn't contradict dad, right? I guess I have to trust he knows what he's doing. That united front and being on the same page about the food is going to be really important and key. All right. And last, they walked away. They totally walked away from it. They took off all the pressure. And when you do that, when you take off that pressure, when you literally walk away from the expectation that almost like awaiting, like that they are going to take that bite. Maybe they'll take that bite now. Maybe they'll do it now. Maybe they'll do it now. And you're almost like waiting expectantly. You're still resisting. You've created resistance because you have that desire. So sometimes that desire creates resistance. So when you release that resistance, when you literally walk away from expecting anything to happen, that's when, you know, all the resistance dropped and she just went back up and ate it. There's something to be said for releasing that expectation, and we talk about all that time, all the time when we're manifesting about releasing resistance and just dropping that expectation of expecting it to come. So that's what mom did. She was not expecting it at all. She didn't even know she ate it. She wasn't even there. So she just totally walked away and boom, she ate it. Isn't that amazing? So so many great lessons and so many great takeaways from this episode for our parents of picky eaters. If you haven't already watched the episode, please do. And, I am sure you will also be smiling and laughing the whole episode, just like me and my son were. And I'll tell you, at the end, he always gets so excited that she ate it. And we talk about that. And I'm like, I bet edamame beans are really tasty. Maybe we should get some and try it. And he always says, yeah, it's not something we regularly eat, but it's definitely something that we're going to try. And I'm definitely going to be reminding him about this episode. And I think there's a really high probability that he will taste them because he saw her eat it and got so excited. She tasted it and she was so happy and she thought it was so tasty, right? So, and he's watched this episode so many times at this point that it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe it is tasty. She's so excited and happy every time I see this episode. So I think there's something to be said about even watching other kids eating foods and tasting them and getting excited about them, right? So, our favorite character eating those foods, right? So, edamame beans is definitely something we will be trying this year. And I think we're going to have high success with it because they are actually pretty tasty. So, if you haven't tried them yet, I think they usually have them at like Japanese restaurants. So definitely give them a whirl next time you're out. They're usually like an appetizer type food, I think. And I've actually had them made into guacamole before and incorporated into guacamole, and it is really excellent. So even if you're not a fan of just eating the beans, you might be able to mash them into avocado and guacamole and make something new out of them a little bit. So that's my quick tip. And we'll be back again soon with some more tips for you. And have a great week.